Good day, everyone. How are you today? I hope everyone is fine. Okay, so let's start our new lesson for this morning, and let's talk about fractions. But before that, let's have first the objectives. So at the end of the lesson, we are expected to perform fundamental operations on fractions, give real-life situations to illustrate fractions, and of course, to solve problems involving fractions. The focus questions for this lesson is how will you able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions? Okay, let's start. So let's learn first the definition of fraction. So here is written in my presentation that fraction represents a part of a whole. That is why a fraction must not be greater than our whole because it is only a part of it, okay? Then a fraction consists a numerator and denominator. It is separated by a fraction bar that is called win column. That indicates division. So here is the example. So we have here a pizza, and the first illustration is it is divided into half. That is why we illustrate it as 1/2. So this is the whole pizza, but our part of it is just 1/2 of the pizza. Next, here it is 1/4. So, and last one is it slices into 8 slices, and you have just 3 slices of it. So the illustration represented is 3/8 or 3/8. Here we call the top number 1, 1, and 3 as our numerator. It is the number of parts you have. And we call the bottom number like 2, 4, and 8 as the denominator. Okay? It is the number of parts the whole is divided into. Okay? Do you follow? Okay. Next, there are different kinds of fraction. So the first one is what you call the proper fraction. Next is the improper fraction, and the third one is mixed number. So let's start. What is proper fraction? Let's proceed. When you say proper fractions, these are fractions where our numerator, those numbers at the top of the fraction bar, is less than our denominator. So mas gamay, like 1/2 is an example of proper fraction because 1 is less than our denominator, which is 2. 1/4, 1 is still less than with our denominator, which is 4. And 3/8, which means 3 is less than 8. That is why these 3 examples is called a proper fraction, or are called proper fractions. Do you follow? Okay, next. Improper fractions, on the other hand, these are fractions where our numerator, or it is opposite to proper fraction because our numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. Listen, numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. Like the example number 1. So 4/4. So our numerator here is equal to our denominator, which is also 4. And another example is 7/4, meaning there are two pizza slices into 4, and you got 7 out of 8 slices. Okay, so 7 is now greater than to our denominator, which is 4. That is our denominator, as you can see. Okay, and the last kind of fraction is what you called mixed numbers, or aka it is also called mixed fractions. So these are fractions in which a whole, it is combined with a whole number. You can say a whole number and a proper fraction. You already know what is a proper fraction. That means our numerator is less than our denominator. So if there is a combination of whole number and a proper fraction, that is now called a mixed number or mixed fraction. As you can see in the illustration, there is a whole pizza and then another pizza that is sliced by 4 slices, and you got only 3 out of 4 slice. Okay, so try to remember that a proper fraction is always less than to 1, while improper fraction always greater than to 1. Okay, so that's the 3 example or kinds of fraction. Do you still follow? Okay, let's proceed. So another definitions that we must remember when we talked about fractions is one is what you call equivalent fractions. So when you say equivalent fractions, simply said that a fraction is equivalent to each other. So you note that some fractions may look different, like 4/8, 2/4, and 1/2. They are written differently, but if you illustrate these 3 fractions, they look the same, or they are really the same, as you can see in their illustrations. So here on the first one, you slice the pizza into 8 slices and you got 4 out of 8. Here you slice it into 4 and you get 2 out of 4. So that is why it's 2 quarters. And last one is you slice the pizza into 2 and you got 1. And as you observe, they look the same. 4/8, 2/4, and 1/2 is an equivalent fractions. Okay, are equivalent fractions. So there are other examples of equivalent fractions. Please observe 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, or 3/6, and 4/8 are also equivalent fractions. 2/3 and 4/6 are still equivalent fractions. 3/4, 6/8, and 9/12 or 9/12 are also equivalent fractions. Next, to get the equivalent fraction of a certain fraction, we have to multiply or divide our fraction by a certain number or by the same number. If we multiply it by 2, our numerator by 2, our denominator must be multiplied by 2 as well. For example, 1/2. So we need to find the equivalent fractions of 1/2. So we are tasked here to multiply it by 2. Or maybe if you wanna use multiplying it by 3, you can multiply it by 4, by 5, etc. But for now, let's multiply it by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So since we multiplied our numerator by 2, the same goes with our denominator. 2 times 2 is 4. So that we could able to get the equivalent fraction of 1/2, 2/4. At the same time, if we wanna find another equivalent fraction by 1/2, let's multiply again 2/4 by 2. 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So that is how we able to find equivalent fractions. Okay? Okay, let's proceed. So, equivalent fraction also helps us to simplify our fraction. You should always complete an answer using the simplest form, or we must say or call it as simplifying. The fraction is in its simplest form, where we cannot divide the same number to the denominator and numerator. So that is, when we simplify fractions, we are using two methods of division. First is to divide both the numerator and denominator until you can't divide anymore. So as that means you need to get certain number or find a number that can be divided by our numerator at the same time by our denominator. Here, for example, I've observed that 24 and 108 can be divided by 2. So that is why it's 24 divided by 2, 12. 108 divided by 2 is 54. 12 and 54 can be simplified, and I think I can divide it by 2 again. 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 54 divided by 2 is 27. 6 and 27 cannot be divided by 2, but still it can be simplified. So I will find or think of a number that both 6 and 27 can be divided. So it is by 3. So 6 divided by 3, 2, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So I get my final answer, 2/9. Okay, and I cannot find any number that 2 and 9 can both be divided. That is why that is my final answer. Another method is, this is the more easy way, because I just need to get the greatest common factor or find the greatest common factor, or GCF. No? So divide both the numerator and denominator by getting its GCF. So the greatest common factor. So the largest number that goes exactly into both 8 and 12, that can be divided by 8 and 12, and that is equal to 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, that is why my final answer here is 2/3. If I solve this one using the first method, maybe I will divide it first by 2. 8 divided by 2, I can get 4. 12 divided by 2, I can get 6. But 4 and 6 can be still simplified by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have a long process by using method 1. Okay. So remember that one, because when we add, subtract, multiply, and divide, we can use all those lessons. Next, we have to also remember how to convert improper fraction to mixed fraction, as well as converting mixed fraction to improper fraction. Let's do this. So let's start how to convert improper fraction to mixed number or mixed fraction. We have 3 steps. First, divide the numerator by the denominator. Next, write down the whole number answer as your answer. Then write down any remainder above your denominator. So, example, convert 11/4 to a mixed fraction. You just simply divide 11 by 4. So 11 divided by 4, you get 2. Because you cannot use 3 anymore because 3 times 4 is already 12. So 2 times 4 is 8. So you have a remainder of 3. So next, in number 2, write down the whole number. Write down 2 as our whole number. Then write down the remainder 3 as our numerator. That's why it is said there that above the denominator 3. And our divisor, which is 4, must be the denominator. So you got 2 and 3/4. So you convert 11 over 4 to a mixed fraction and you get this result. Okay? If we have mixed number and we need to convert it into improper fraction, this will be used in multiplying and dividing. You have 3 steps as well. Multiply the whole number part by the fraction's denominator. So your denominator times 2 your whole number. And then the result must be added. Add that to your numerator. Okay? Then that result will become your numerator. The numerator of your answer. So write it as the result on top of your denominator. What is your denominator? The denominator of your result is the denominator of the fraction. Okay, now 3 and 2/5, so 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Then add by 2, that is 17. So your numerator now is 17 over your fraction's denominator, which is 5. So the result in converting 3 and 2/5 is 17 over 5. Do you follow? Do you understand? Okay, let's proceed. So another important definitions to remember is similar and dissimilar fraction. When you say similar fraction, you have the same denominators. 3 over 7, 2 over 7, the denominator are both 7. And dissimilar fractions, those fractions with dissimilar or unlike denominators do not have the same denominators, like 1 over 7 and 2/9. You have different denominators, which is 7 and 9. So that is why it is dissimilar fractions. Remember this one because when we add and subtract fractions, we need these two definitions. Okay? And you say unique fractions, those fractions having a numerator of 1. So if our numerator are 1 in our fractions, if we have fractions having numerator 1, that fractions are called unit fractions. Okay? So let's proceed to another presentations later. Thank you.